Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Obi Thorin Alliance. What are we doing today, Jacob?
We are recapping episode 3 of The Last of Us. Long time.
So stick around and see what we think and how we recap it. So, episode 3, we're greeted with another long episode. This one, somewhat controversial online. People have had mixed opinions of it. We'll get into why that is. But first, let's recap what happened. So we start off with Joel and Ellie walking and kind of, on their adventure to try and find the other Firefly outpost. Whilst there, Joel suggests to Ellie that, maybe we shouldn't go this way. You don't want to see what's up ahead. And Ellie, in Ellie fashion's like, no, I can handle it. I want to see what happens. So they go through and we see, some burnt corpses, and particularly we see a little baby. That then goes to a flashback to when the outbreak started, and we see a town being evacuated, and we're introduced to Bill. So what do we then find out about Bill?
That he's a doomsday prepper.
Yeah, so he's sitting in his house in the basement watching these people get evacuated. He's like, yeah, that's not happening to me, I'm not going. And he's surrounded by guns and all the things he needs to survive doomsday. Basically, the people then are evacuated. He's got the town to himself, and what's he do?
Barricades everything with barbed wires and traps and all sorts of things to survive, and traps to fall into, to be tripped into, and all sorts of things.
Yeah, so he basically lives out this fantasy that a lot of people have about if the doomsday was to occur, that like, we're going to go down to the local hardware store, I'm going to get all the stuff I need, I'm going to be self-sufficient, we're going to grow vegetables and have animals and have a farm, and which he does with success. We skip forward many years, and then eventually another person is basically gets caught in his trap, and then what proceeds from those events?
Well, Bill is suspicious about this person at the start, and then he helps him, and then they have food or lunch together, and then they start kissing, and then they start having sexual stuff together, and then they fall in love, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess whether or not, Bill was predisposed to be interested in males, or whether, it was just the thought of being lonely and then someone else coming along, but Frank seemed to have picked up something in him and then made a move. We get to see this love story develop between them, and then as that story goes on, we see that they in fact are friends with Joel.
Yes.
Joel and Tess, that's right. So we're left with them, and then we see how they interact. Basically, they've been talking over the radio. Bill's a bit hesitant about inviting new people, but Frank wants to socialise, he wants to have friends, he wants to, build a community almost. So they realise that they have a trade of resources, they can help each other out, and that gives context as to why Joel would be heading to this place. Because you start to pick up as the episode's going on, like obviously there's a reason they're showing this, they're going to head to this location. So the episode focuses on them, we don't see much of what's going on with Joel and Ellie, and fast forward to recent times and what happens in their story.
Unfortunately, we get to see them, fall in love. Frank grows some tomatoes, and then we get this action scene when Bill gets shot and you think he passed away.
Yeah, but then from that it fast forward and we see that actually Frank has became unwell. I'm not really sure what exactly he had or how they could diagnose it, but he basically was dying and required, assistance to get out of bed, and wasn't able to walk anymore, but they continued to live a happy life together. But Frank had decided that today was going to be his last day on Earth.
Going to get married.
And he wanted to do a few things. So they wanted to get married, he wanted to, get dressed up, they wanted to have a nice meal, he wanted to do all the things that, you might want to do on your last day on Earth. And then we're left with a bit of twist in their story, so what happens?
What I kind of saw coming when Frank said, I want you to poison me and do this, Bill kind of betrays, but also you could see it coming because he loves him. He already poured in poison in his own wine drink so they could die peacefully together, because he was an old man and he didn't want to die alone.
Yeah, so they basically live out their last day together, commit, suicide together through taking these tablets. And then we see Joel and Ellie show up to the compound. He knows the codes, he gets in, and then to their surprise, neither of them are around, and then they find the suicide note and realise what's going on there. So, it gives context to why Joel was going there, and then also now they're left with this, well, if they wanted to, they could live there, they know it's self-sufficient, or as Joel wants to continue his mission and deliver Ellie, he can take resources from this place. So what do you think about the episode? Do you think it was needed, it was worthwhile to deviate from the main story?
Overall, I thought it was great. I think sometimes you need to focus on characters over the plot. Like, the plot is important, but I think characters matter more. And I actually enjoyed focusing on different characters, because in a zombie apocalypse, I don't think you're just going to focus on the main characters all the time. So I actually enjoyed the episode being about two different people. We get to see them meet each other. And what I thought was a neat touch was that the first meal he made for him was also the last meal he cooked for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I agree. I think it was a great touch to focus on something different. At first, I thought, oh, this isn't going to be great. We're moving away from the main storyline. But I knew that if they link it back, it works well. And actually, I didn't remember that these two characters actually are in the game. So since then, we've gone back and had a look and what they feature in the game, and it's a little bit different. They're deviated from the story of the game, but I think it's a nice touch. So in the game, Bill is an ally of Joel. Joel somehow links up with him, helps him out of a bit of a jam when he's trying to, deliver Ellie. They get away from some zombies. They go into a house, and then they see someone's hanging from the roof. Joel asks Bill who that is, and he says, that's my partner, Frank, not alluding to it being, sexual sense. Maybe it could have been his business partner, or they just live together and surviving together, who knows. But he refers to him being his partner, and he goes, oh, he's been bitten, and, he's taken his own life. And that's where they've gone with that, where I think the choice of storyline in this made it a lot better. I think it was like a bit of a mini movie, and I think it worked well. Any discussion points about that? What do you think about the idea of going with this, same-sex couple? Do you think it's cliche, or was expected because it seems to be common in most shows, or do you think it needed to be done, or it was just right? It worked perfectly.
I thought it made sense, because in a zombie apocalypse, sometimes you're going to care more about the person than what the gender is. And I think, when the world is ended, or, when there's not a lot of people to choose from, sometimes love is more important than what someone's gender is.
Yeah, I agree. At first I thought, they're kind of just trying to tick a box, and they're trying to, push an agenda, but it made sense. I think if it was two people of the opposite sex, you'd then question, well, of course that would happen, like if a pretty female ended up falling in the pit, of course he's going to invite her in, what's going to happen next. So I guess this kind of threw a spanner in the works, and as Jacob mentioned, it then became about love, not about what you'd expect. And I also think if they were opposite, then they possibly would have procreated and had a family, which then would conflict the story they're going to. Like, they wanted it to have a tragic ending where they both had died. So if it was they end up having children, then did the children need to die, or did they have to chuck in that they couldn't actually conceive? It's too much of a storyline, where I think going that way kind of just explained that their bloodline ended there, and everything's left behind to Joel to do what he likes. What other discussion points do we have from this episode?
I think it makes sense of, in the trailer, they actually had the car, so now we know how they actually get the car.
Do you, as someone that hasn't played the game, wonder why won't they just stay there and live happily ever after? Like, they've got this self-sufficient place?
Well, I guess the story needs to move forward. If they just stayed there, it wouldn't be that entertaining. So, they need to keep moving the story forward.
Yeah, I guess, Joel wants to complete his mission.
And find his brother.
Yeah, well, I guess, maybe his plan would be, if he finds his brother, he might then return to there, because he has all the keys and he knows everything's there. So is that, Joel's bigger plan?
Most likely.
Where do you think it ranks against the other episodes? Is it the best of the three so far?
Depends how you look at it. If you prefer plot and Joel and Ellie, it's probably the third least, but I actually enjoy it more for character development. I think they were probably more developed characters than Joel and Ellie's relationship.
Yeah, I think it was a cool little mini movie within the world of The Last of Us, and I think for this series to have, multiple seasons, they're probably going to have to do that, add in some little bits. And I'm enjoying when we're seeing these flashbacks or side stories as to how the virus occurred or how it impacted other people. I actually think it's good because it's not like a story like the Walking Dead where they kind of can have two different tribes or gangs and it kind of swaps between which one they're going to focus on. This show is definitely about Joel and Ellie, but you can have little side episodes that intertwine, and I think that's fine, as long as we don't start seeing two stories going on at the same time. It kind of works in that way.
Did you think Bill actually died in that scene when he kind of fainted?
They very much made it seem that way. I guess I'm surprised that they did survive that. Not remembering them from the game, at that point I thought in the show that they were probably just going to get raided by these people, and maybe Joel and Ellie were going to show up. They're expecting to see Frank and Bill and actually be greeted by some raiders that were quite hostile. Like, I thought that's where it was going to go, because in the game there's lots of fight scenes between Joel and external people that aren't Fireflies nor part of the Fedra. So I thought that's what we're going to be greeted with, but instead we've got basically a mini movie.
So are you looking forward to episode 4?
Yeah, definitely. Well, they've got the car now, so they're going to be moving at a much quicker pace and getting somewhere. But I'm looking forward to seeing them explore the world and the way that they're going to portray the outbreak in this show's quite cool. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Do you think this is the best show on streaming at the moment? Because I think it is.
I think so. I think it's by far the best quality and the best
acted.
Yeah, the best act. It is the best at the moment. I'm sure there's lots of shows out there that are very unique or might be better written, where this obviously has the luxury of being based upon previous content, but it's definitely the most exciting thing out there at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you're enjoying the show at the moment. If you're watching it, definitely would recommend it if you're not sure about it at the moment. As always, you're awesome. Hit the notification bell, like and subscribe, and catch you next time. Bye-bye.